Alright, ladies and gents, the Pixel 3 is about to come out, so I thought it'd be a good chance to take a look and see how the Pixel 2 has done in the 1 year that it's been out, because it might be a good indication on how the Pixel 3 is going to be. So let's jump into it. So the good stuff. When I first got this phone, it was blazing fast, and it's still incredibly quick. The phone has aged very well, and it feels pretty much like the first day I got it, except for a few things that I'll get into a little bit later. Apps switch quickly, messaging is fast, pages load quickly in the browser, Google Maps finds my location right away, and everything just runs very quickly with a couple of exceptions. The squeeze functionality. I'll admit that I thought this was totally a gimmick and it was a silly idea, but I can't tell you how much I use this. Love that I can just kind of squeeze it and the assistant will come up, and instead of having to say, okay Google, I'm able to just use this. And it's just been super nice. Especially if the phone is in my pocket, I can grab it, hit the squeeze, and the assistant is ready and I can start saying the command immediately before I even look at the phone. That is super nice. Speaking of the assistant, it's been great. I'm very impressed with how it understands everything I'm saying nearly every single time. Even if I completely screw it up, it's able to use context to figure out what I meant to say with very impressive accuracy. When I switched to the iPhone X for a couple months, the assistant was definitely something that I missed quite a bit. I know that you can get the assistant on the iPhone, but it's just not the same because you can't call it up immediately, and the assistant is so much smarter than Siri. When is Dunham's on North Maple Road open until?
I found five places named Dunham's. Tap the one you are looking for.
Closed 39 minutes ago.
The camera, this has been done to death by everyone else, and lots of camera reviews and samples you can look at. In my personal experience with this camera, it's been amazing. Not just because of its photo quality that's better than any phone that's out there. Even the iPhone XS, the brand new one, is still not as good from all the accounts that I'm seeing. But because of how it can handle really hard situations. I can be walking very quickly, it's windy, and I can take a selfie, and it's in focus the first time, every time. And even in a low light situation, I can take a photo right away the first time, and it's just been very reliable. I enjoy using this camera, and I trust it to take the photos that I want to take. Speaking of reliability, I cannot remember the last time anything has gone wrong. There's never been a random app crash, any random reboot, anything fail. I never even close apps. I never reboot the phone except for when the security updates get installed once a month. I just use what I want to use and then I put it down. Security updates, I gotta mention those because it is so nice. Whereas my iPad and my iPhone, I have to download the update, then the phone has to reboot, and then I lose 20-30 minutes while it's doing that. It just drives me insane. This, it just downloads the update, installs everything in the background while you keep using it like normal, and then asks you to do a quick reboot once it's done, and then the update is finished. I just can't believe that Apple hasn't copied this yet, because it would be nice to be able to use my iPad when I'm actually trying to use it. So let's talk about some of the bad stuff. If it's very harsh sunlight, everything is visible, but it's just not as bright as it should be. The iPhone X and the Samsung Galaxy phones get a lot brighter, and it definitely is helpful, and I wish that this could as well. It's not a deal breaker, it's not like you can't see it in the sunlight or anything like that, but it's not as good as those phones. The other thing I don't like about it is the standby battery usage. On a typical day, if I'm connected to Wi-Fi the whole day, it'll lose maybe 1% per hour if it's just sitting there, which isn't a lot, but it's just sitting there. Why is it wasting 1%, even just 1% per hour? Some days if I'm connected to LTE and my signal's not the best, that can jump up to 2% per hour. And if I have a smartwatch connected, like this, definitely hitting that 2% per hour rate. I've never had a situation where I've run out of battery or I've gotten so low on battery that I'm concerned, but I wish it did better while I was asleep. I've noticed that using the fingerprint scanner to wake the phone has gotten a little bit slower since the first time I got it. I'll show you an example where I'll hit the screen at the same time that I touch the scanner and you can see the delay. So as you can see, I'm totally nitpicking here. It's not like it's super slow. It's not even a second, not even maybe half a second, but it's definitely not as fast as it used to be. If I'm using an app that requires authentication and the phone is already awake, it's lightning quick. It's like it used to be. It's not any slower at all. The other thing that's gotten slightly slower, I feel like, is when I double tap to turn on the camera. The lack of a headphone jack, still a terrible idea, because if I forget to check the battery on my headphones before going to the gym, I might run out of battery on them halfway through the workout. Or I have to use a dongle, which has been less than reliable. As you can see, my experience with this phone has been very positive overall. It's fast, it's responsive, it's reliable. But I do want to mention that I don't do any gaming, except for maybe playing a couple rounds of Can Knockdown now and then. So I can't comment on the phone and how it does gaming. Sure, it does well. It's got the same, Snapdragon 835 or whatever it is, as every other phone that was released last year. So I'm not terribly concerned about that, but I don't use that. My main usage of this phone is messaging, Google Maps navigation, browsing the web, listening to music, a little bit of podcasts, a little bit of YouTube, email, taking photos and videos and that kind of stuff. With that in mind, I'm very pleased with this phone overall, how it's done in the last year. Now I should mention that I haven't used the Pixel 2 XL because, well, I don't like giant phones. I have a tablet for that. And that's made by LG, a company with a less than reliable build quality in my opinion. I know that there have been some issues with that phone, and so I hate to say I told you so, but I've been adamant since the very beginning. As soon as Google announced that they were going to go with LG, I thought it was a terrible idea. I think Google should have stuck with HTC for the bigger phone because HTC has reliable build quality, and I think that that's why people aren't seeing any issues with the smaller version. Speaking of the build quality, I should also mention how many times I've dropped this thing. It's pretty bad. I'm embarrassed because normally I take pretty good care of my phones, but I don't know, I've just dropped this phone a lot more than I'd like to admit. But it's been very durable. I keep it in a case normally, but it's a very just thin $7 TPU case, nothing special. And even after a lot of really bad falls, it's been totally fine. With all that said, the Pixel 3, I think if this phone is any indication, the Pixel 3 should be a solid product, as long as it's made by HTC. But I think that Google needs to get their act together as far as recycling, because these things do use materials that are precious and often from conflict zones. And it would be nice to see Google do the same thing that Apple does as far as recycling. And also about the security updates, because this phone will get security updates for 3 years. And I think that that's too low. I know that that's Snapdragon's fault, but ultimately I think the responsibility is on Google to find another chip manufacturer if Qualcomm can't get their act together. Anyways, I love this phone. It's been great. I thought it'd be helpful for you guys who are interested in the Pixel 3 like I am to see how this one did, and I think it's done wonderfully. It's just been a pleasant experience. If you like this video, like it, share it with people that you think would find it helpful, and other than that, see you guys later.